Britt Baker claims to be the baddest bitch on the block, but in reality, she's just pretty bad. And that is the so-called best that AEW has to offer. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. Here to talk about Britt Baker today. I'd rather talk about her than watch her wrestle. Hell, I'd rather go to the dentist than watch Britt Baker wrestle. You see what I did there? Maybe she should stick to the dentist instead of bashing models and athletes that come off the street to go to work in the NXT Performance Center. Maybe she should have stuck in the dentistry. Maybe she should have stuck to her appointments, because she's not really doing much in AEW. That is despite getting a massive push. That is despite having CM Punk put her over in multiple promos. But the fact is, she's not that good, and she's certainly not as good as she believes she is. Now, Britt Baker has had a history of bashing the WWE Women's Division. Why? I do not know. I've heard her on numerous occasions talk about how the women don't get the chance on WWE that they do in AEW. They're not treated the same. They don't get the chance to perform. I mean, she's technically right. The WWE women are not treated the way AEW women are, because in fact they're treated much better. I don't know what it is with these people in AEW, but they're living in like 10 years in the past. The women today in WWE get a shitload of screen time. They get a decent amount of main events. They got a shitload more before Roman Reigns pretty much dominated the main event scene. A lot of pay-per-views had women main eventing. How often do you get a woman main eventing in AEW? Barely ever. If you look at screen time in WWE, they get a hell of a lot of screen time on a 2 or 3 hour show in comparison to AEW. So when you look at it, yeah, WWE actually give their women an opportunity to perform, whereas AEW don't. And the problem for that could be the fact that AEW's women's division isn't very good. But Britt Baker doesn't think so, because in the past she says, quote, "I don't think putting a bunch of nobodies and athletes off the street in a warehouse and teaching them to do all the same thing the same way at the same time is going to create a successful roster," end of quote. So she's talking about NXT, she's talking about the Performance Center, and look, I agree that it's a little bit generic doing this, but undoubtedly NXT's women's division is better than AEW's, and that is a fact. You take the people on NXT, you take a lot of the women on NXT, and you could call them up to the main roster, and you would have faith in them, you would trust them. You wouldn't really trust anybody in AEW. I mean, the majority of the women in AEW fucking suck, and they're not ready for television. They're certainly not ready for WWE's television. The only thing I'd say AEW have, maybe that you could compare to WWE, is they've got some attractive women, the likes of Julia Hart, the likes of Anna Jay, Tay Mello, hell, even Britt Baker herself is pretty attractive, but in terms of ability, definitely not. Doesn't matter how much times she fucking kisses up to Tony Schiavone. It doesn't matter how many times Punk name drops her in a promo. Her match this week with Taya Valkyrie was terrible. You seen the botch finish, the stupid punches. They were doing a Ric Flair chop off moment where they were taking turns chopping each other, and it was like the tamest chops you'll ever see. So yeah, Britt Baker, I don't know why she believes that WWE's women's division isn't good when women is clearly the best. You look at the women's division, it is head and shoulders above AEW's. It's not even fucking close. Honestly, if Britt Baker was in WWE, she'd be getting lost in the shuffle. I'm telling you, this woman would be getting squashed like a pancake by Doudrop. She certainly would not be main eventing. She wouldn't be winning any women's championships, not at all. She'd probably have a couple of dark matches and then be released. And if she really wants to compare AEW's women division to even NXT, she's going to lose. Look at the women in NXT. Some of them have only been wrestling for a couple of years max. Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, Tiffany Stratton, and they're already better than the majority of the women on AEW. It's not even close. And then if you factor in the main roster, you look at the women that WWE got in the main roster, like who in AEW, who have they got that compares to a Charlotte Flair or an Asuka or anyone like that, a Becky Lynch? They've got nobody. Not in terms of in the ring, not in terms of star power, drawing ability. Jesus Christ, Becky Lynch at one moment was like the most popular person in WWE for like a 6-month period. Yeah, albeit she might have ripped people off and stuff, and The Rock might have helped her get a pop, but still she was up there. What's Britt Baker ever done? The only thing she's ever done is get acknowledged for being Adam Cole's fucking girlfriend. Apart from that, and have her name dropped by CM Punk in a garbage promo, she's done nothing. So yeah, she's held the AEW Women's Championship. It's a shit-looking belt anyway. So, and look at the other people that won that belt. Rio, the chick that's a dude. I mean, look at the history of that belt. It's not very fucking good. I mean, Britt Baker might be the best person to hold it, but that's because everyone else that's held this absolutely sucked. And what's the women's division doing at the moment? It's going backwards. It's actually strange. The AEW women's division is going backwards. Certainly nowhere near as good as WWE's. Not as good as SmackDown. Not as good as Raw. Not even as good as NXT. So maybe AEW need to get their own warehouse. Maybe Tony Khan needs to bring some models off the street and put them into a factory, because what AEW is producing at the moment with the women isn't very good. Anyway guys, that's it. Catch you in the next one. Let us know your thoughts, and peace.